You know what the people of Florida want the most? I-4 to be less congested, housing and rent to be a little bit more controlled for the people that actually live here and want to have their own homes, and for people to stop going 25 in a 50. Not Andrew Tate in our state. Alas, the Trump administration, in all of its infamy, decided to pressure Romania to give the tater tots the chance to come back to the States. Obviously, we know why.
Grab him by the...
But I'm not here to talk about Cheetos. I'm here to talk about taters, and the fact that he had the audacity to come to Florida is not surprising. What is, though, is Ron DeSantis, someone who I don't fully agree with on a lot of things, putting his foot down and stating that the Tates are not welcome in this state. And the Attorney General, James Uthmeier, did not mince words about them either. Quote, "Based on a thorough review of this evidence, I've directed the Office of Statewide Prosecution to execute search warrants and issue subpoenas in the now active criminal investigation into the Tate brothers." Uthmeier said, adding to this as well, that Florida has a zero tolerance for people who abuse women and girls. A very honorable and righteous statement from our Attorney General. Something that I thought men and women on both sides of the aisle appreciated. Protecting our women. Well, on the right, I guess not. Now, the potatoes are saying that they haven't committed any crimes and should have the right to come back home. But even that isn't necessarily true. I mean, the Attorney General of Florida wouldn't execute search warrants if there wasn't probable cause and or evidence against them to begin with. I mean, that would be a waste of taxpayer funds and time. On top of that, they're still ordered by Romania to come back to the country and go through with a case that is still ongoing and also having cases in the United Kingdom. It's crazy how people, mainly on the conservative side of politics, seem to forget what someone has done when they drift over into their side of the aisle, even with all of the charges and legal litigation placed upon Andrew and his brother regarding sex trafficking, money laundering, and sexual assault charges in multiple countries. I mean, Spotify even removed his pimping podcast due to violations of the platform's policies. I'm not surprised, though, to be perfectly honest. Someone who doesn't follow Christian values, that degrades and treats women like trash, who doesn't care about veterans and only cares about putting money and power into his own hands, well, you could have guessed either Cheeto or potato, and you would have been right in either way. Their supporters are guaranteed to be people that don't want to follow the woke agenda. You know, women's rights to choose, that fall directly in line with the Fourth Amendment, LGBTQIA rights to marry, because the separation of church and state has always been a foundation in the United States. The 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, the 19th, and the 22nd Amendment. But that's too woke. That's where we get into our main topic of conversation, which you can tell from the title of the video. Although they're too busy suckling at the teat of Mr. Cheat, these people also cut a hole in a grapefruit for Mr. Mash and his brother over here, because instead of following their beliefs, they are woefully ignoring it because it owns the libs. That's where we come to multiple people, including people like this. Someone so desperate to be a pick-me that they lose the plot in its entirety and being very much okay with being degraded by the same person that they want to protect. This person, who I don't want to name because they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, just loves the fact that Tate is back, even though her reaction seemed to be somewhat standoffish. Ironically, though, she grits her teeth at the so-called fake conservatives for disliking the fact that the taters are back in the United States, despite the tots being completely the opposite of what conservative Christians are allegedly supposing to be.
I see all these conservatives, right? Fake, saying his air travel should be banned. He shouldn't be allowed in the United States. Somebody's got to do something. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, you want this guy's travel restricted based on what?
You know, I don't know what it could be, but it could potentially be the charges that they have with human trafficking and abuse towards women. Also, the video evidence that we have on the internet of them saying that they've had sex with 15 and 16-year-olds as adults. This is from the Denison Forum. Quote, He is anti-marriage and instead of a major proponent of hookup culture, suggesting that the number of women a man has been with correlates to his personal worth and masculinity. As one might imagine, this quickly devolves into oppressive and misogynistic speech and actions towards women. End quote. Sounding familiar at all? They go on into the article about what the church is meant to do with the disregard of young men by the culture over the last couple of decades. Quote, the church should be the source of structure and acceptance for these isolated young men, finding fulfillment in a Christ-centered life, one defined by self-sacrifice rather than indulgence in greed and lust. A biblical worldview recognizes the power of a godly, lasting marriage, and therefore the sacredness of sex. Believers cannot afford to compromise with the culture on sexual immorality. Similarly, the Bible proves great clarity on the pitfalls of chasing money. Jesus said, quote, within the quote, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Matt 62 ESV, end quotes to the quotes. Now, I personally am agnostic due to my adventures overseas and seeing other cultures and religions for what they are, but a person that believes in Christianity, praising the Tates in such a contradicting thing is very surprising to me. Why, might you wonder, would this person be so adamant on being so glib for the Tate's return and not present the facts or statements that I've provided for you all previous to this portion of the conversation? Well, because your feelings.
So that's my question to you. Why is this guy different? You know why he's different? Because he hurt your feelings.
Now, I don't know about you, madam, but I'm not going to be supportive of someone so willfully able to say that they're willing to beat the shit out of a woman, choke her, then fuck her after. Here's where he says that.
I perfected this in pimp school. When I got my PhD, we had to practice if a girl comes at you, you cheater, you're cheating. It's bang out the machete, boom in her face, and then grip her up by the neck. Like, shut up, bitch! Her panties get wet. The machete's on the floor, her panties are all wet. You go, fuck her. That's how it goes. Slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex. These are the basic moves of pimping.
He then brags about having sex with 15 or 16-year-olds. If you don't believe me, here it is again.
So I messaged her. She's like, I'm only 16. I was like, give a fuck. Know about me. I'm 21. I don't care. Bro, I was banging her, like looking at her Facebook on the phone.
Fucking all these 16-year-old women or 18-year-old women, whatever the law is in America. 18?
It's 18 usually. You
18.
get married at 16. I think.
All right, in Romania, 16, sorry.
I mean, shit, X is even, in fact, checking you on your own posts, and yet you think it's because people's feelings are hurt that people hate the Tates and don't want them here. My favorite part about her tater-sucking rant is when she mentions that the Attorney General is acting like a liberal for doing his job and standing up for women in the state because Florida has a zero tolerance for abuse and assault on women. The man's a Republican.
Okay, this new James Uthmeyer, appointed to be the Attorney General by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, said on Tuesday he had begun an active criminal investigation and he was going to use the full force of the law. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. I want to read the whole thing. Just this section. These guys have themselves publicly admitted to participating in what very much appears to be soliciting, trafficking, preying upon women around the world. Many of these victims are coming forward, some of them minors. People can spin or defend however they want, but in Florida, this type of behavior is viewed as atrocious. We're not going to accept it. Okay, honey, you can pull that down. You sound like a leftist.
I just can't believe that you think that this is your own. This is the nail in your coffin, apparently, because it's like, You read the article, and the article states that the Attorney General is saying that they have publicly admitted to this, which we've already shown to you. They've publicly admitted to abusing women and having sex with minors, and that they're going to follow the fullest extent of state law in the state of Florida to make sure that this man and his brother face justice properly. And you're calling them a leftist for that? That is the craziest hill that you die on in this situation. I don't know how you think that this is a win whatsoever. It's Jesus Christ. She wants the mash on her dinner plate so badly that she's willing to say to the world some of the worst takes possible because she thinks people's fifis are hurt. No, madam, we just don't like accused rapists and sex traffickers. Also, because they say that they're innocent doesn't mean that they actually are.
So they were looking for something criminal. They wanted to put him away. They didn't find it. So they had to let him out, ultimately. You remember that whole thing, and then they were under house arrest, and it went on and on and on. And then finally, they were like, we don't have anything on this guy.
Google is so easy to just navigate through that you can actually find that they're still being investigated. There's still a case. They still have to go back to Romania to go to court. The reason as to why they're back in America is because of pressure from the Trump administration. That's the reason as to why they were able to get out of house arrest and come back to the United States. They still have a case in the United Kingdom against multiple women, and they still have that case again in Romania. It's so crazy that you can't just look up other articles and look this up. Google's free.
What are you going to bring to the investigation? Why are they being investigated in Florida? What did they do in Florida? What?
I'll do it for you because apparently you can't read or find any information. So that's fine. I'm here on the BBC website right now. Florida opens criminal investigation into the Tate brothers. Florida has launched a criminal investigation into British American influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate, who flew to the state last week from Romania where they face rape and human trafficking charges. Florida's Attorney General James Uthmeier says the investigators have issued search warrants and subpoenas as part of a now active inquiry. In the U.S., the brothers also faced a civil suit from a woman alleging they have coerced her into sex work, then defamed her after she gave evidence to Romanian authorities. They strongly deny all the allegations against them. This was happening in Florida. It was a Florida woman because at that point, when you go down into the article just a little bit more, their lawyer, Joseph McBride, says here that today, Attorney General James Uthmeier threw ethics law out the window when he publicly took a side of an ongoing Florida lawsuit where Andrew and Tristan Tate are suing a Florida woman for orchestrating a sophisticated plot to use sex as a weapon to ruin their lives. It is so easy to find this information out. You just have to type in Florida, Tristan and Andrew Tate, and apparently you can't figure that out.
And then this is really, my favorite part is when he says, oh, the victims have come forward, many of them minors. Are we now in a place as conservatives, supposed conservatives, phonies, by the way, where somebody says something and makes an accusation and it's valid?
There's evidence that he did this with a 15-year-old in Romania. I just can't believe that you think that there's no evidence to this. There's video proof that he's doing this with a 15-year-old in Romania. The case is still ongoing. I swear to God, you need to do some soul searching. And if you actually believed in the Bible and if you are actually a conservative, then maybe you should practice what you fucking preach. Just read. Read. Look it up and read.
It's like, fuck off, mate. You don't pay the fucking petrol bill. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck would I read for you? If you've got a fit sister who's 16, maybe.